The collective on Earth is absolutely changing. The planets are absolutely creating this momentum of change. And in your question, you're like, is it the sun? Is it the moon? Is it the planets? Is it Earth? Is it us? It's all of it at the same time, which is how we're actually getting to what a lot of people who've prophesized about this or channeled different messages are getting to critical mass. March 2025 is really like the catalyst for this great change that goes all the way through 2027. We are on this precipice of the most incredible change.
Well, welcome back, all you beautiful beings, to episode 6 of the Blissed Out podcast.
Dang, we made it to number 6.
Yeah, and
It's exciting.
Really excited about this one. We have a very special guest. This is Kelsey Isis. We have shared space only less than a handful of times, but every time has been pretty magical. We've danced in the same space together. We have had multiple conversations, and I'm always just mind blown at the information that comes through. It's very special, and we're grateful to have you on here. Kelsey is a somatic therapist and an interdimensional priestess.
Yes.
So, Kelsey, I guess first thing I want to know is, what is an interdimensional priestess?
So within the multidimensional reality that we live in, being a priestess of both the heavens, the cosmos, and the earth realms. So being the bridge between both is what I really love to play in the different fields, the more of the shamanics, right? And utilizing magic and life force in a way that we can pull down this beautiful cosmic energy, but then ground it into physical form and then make it tangible for us to really utilize in this human experience. So I see myself as a priestess of the both and, of the cosmos and of the earth. And being in the multidimensional realms means that we can pull through the different threads of consciousness because we get to live and exist in multidimensional realms of consciousness.
Fascinating. And so does that interdimensional priestess show up in your somatic therapy?
Absolutely. So somatic therapy is of the body therapeutics, right? So we go to talk therapy, and that's more well known and discussed, and people, go, and you can go for a year, you can go your whole life, right? And in somatic therapy, it's about getting into the body, the trauma fields that are locked in the body, different aches, pains that aren't automatically associated with a potential thing that you would go to a therapist for, but we are noticing as we live these multidimensional realities that it is all interconnected. And so using my gifts as a priestess to really see and find these threads means that I can understand the past life that's showing up and why you have chronic shoulder pain or migraines and things like that, and then move it through the body so that we actually shake out what's happening rather than these issues or emotions getting stuck in the body. And then hopefully, which is what I take my clients through, is not having to go through this therapeutics for your entire lifetime, right? You have to actually get the freedom from the experience because you go into the body and talk to it on a multidimensional reality and then move on.
Yeah, because emotions are stored in the body, right?
Absolutely. The body keeps a score.
Yeah, I haven't read the book
It's a
yet,
great book.
I can't wait to. A lot of times, I did therapy for a little while, like conventional talk therapy, and it didn't really serve me ever.
Yeah.
And then I got into this work, and this is where everything started changing. And it was somatic, but it was also observation. And I feel like therapy can be beneficial,
Of course.
but it also can reiterate the cycle or emphasize the cycle even more.
Yeah.
And
That's a great
make
point.
it worse, when in reality is we're here to stop the cycle. So I think that's really cool. I really want to dive into more of that, but now I want to shift real quick into your journey because our experiences have been powerful together. Where did that come from? Where were you at before you started this work?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Thinking into that a little. My journey started really young. I wasn't fully conscious that I was on a journey, right? As we usually aren't whenever we start, whatever linear timeline of age that is. But I very much knew that something was bigger than me, whether we call that spirit, magic, just like the thread of consciousness, whatever, right? For me, it's been magic. That was my word that I associate with it. And I knew that it was real, and I found astrology very young. And I had like my first past life remembrance when I was 8 years old. And it's always been connected to the water for me. Like, and I truly believe in my own personal experience that water is consciousness, water is our memories, water holds so many different frequencies that I was just open enough to having a remembrance. And I didn't understand what that was then at all. And through my high school years, I actually went to therapy. I was very depressed and was very confused because I did know that there was something more than me, but what was physically around me was not something more than me. I grew up in the Midwest, very religious, and it was so confusing to me. So that's really where I would say my life didn't make any sense, and I felt at that time stuck in that moment, and started deepening into different magical practices, meditation, and astrology is really where it started for me. And
what caused this shift? Do you remember like a specific moment in time where you were just like, I'm done with this pattern of living this way? It's time to make a shift, and then you started going into this?
Yes. So there was a deep moment within, I would say, my family dynamics is where I was not understood for what I was essentially seeking, because I knew that there was more. I went to a private Catholic school, and I was very much I didn't fit. It did not fit. And I would read horoscopes on the back of like magazines or newspapers or whatever. And I could tell something in my heart was like, this is real, but this isn't right. Whatever that was. And so I was like, there's got to be more. I was an only child. I went to the library. I started looking at books. And so I found every book that I could alone by myself and just started reading. And there was a huge shift that started happening to me, because then I could start to feel like there was more going on in my life. And honestly, I was looking for a space to just hold myself, because I didn't feel like I was being held by those around me. And I didn't want to feel so lonely. And honestly, the planets were the first thing to like communicate and help me understand me, which I now understand that's what I was looking for. I was looking to understand myself because I was just so confused. And that took years, really, through high school, and shifted into this like, oh, there's more to the world. I want to feel it, experience it, sense it, like tangibly be in my body. And I'd say also the experience of depression and being in that space, I was very numb. And so I think the specific piece to answer your question is I wanted to feel the more of life, because what was happening in my body was honestly very constricting and honestly really uncomfortable. And so within my practice and my experience of something outside of myself, it was like I got to mirror reflect myself back to me.
Beautiful. Where did you start? So it sounds like you knew at a young age, at least to some extent, that things weren't right.
Yeah.
But you didn't know what it was. But you started doing like some work, some research, going out and holding space for yourself. When it shifted to where you like devoted, what did that look like?
So it was actually a really profound moment. I was traveling full time for my life work. I was living nomadically and doing Renaissance festivals and all kinds of fun, experiences and art fairs and things, and making art, meeting people and seeing the world. And I received an energy session from...
Like Reiki?
Yes, that's kind of what she was doing. She didn't call it that at the time.
Which is fine.
Right. And it was like in the desert, and I was in Arizona at the time. And I had a full, what I understand now is a timeline jump. And I would like laid down on the table. There were people everywhere. It's a full community event that we were doing on a Monday morning. And I laid down and I went into the deepest meditative state that I had experienced at that moment in my life. And went into this pure bliss state. But I deeply remember like navigating through some emotional questions. I was really looking at a time of like, what am I doing to change my life? It was my Saturn return, so astrology. And that was not fully present and aware of like the impact of what was happening to me. And anyway, I had all these beautiful visions and feelings, and then she was like, okay, you're done. And it was supposed to be like 45 minutes. Honestly, time was an illusion. I have no idea. And I woke up, or like opened my eyes, right? And saw the tree above my head. There was like this giant eucalyptus tree, which was profound, and they're very special to me now. And it was silent everywhere. Like, wait a minute. There were just like 50 people here. And it's never an event that it happened every week. It never ended very quickly. And I got up off the table and I opened my eyes and looked around, and there was not one person. It was just her and I and that massage table. And it changed my life. That was the moment I was like, wow, this is what people talk about in the meditation books and things about like timelines shifting or you're altering, your dimensions and things like that. I'm like, what does that mean until it's happening to you? And then it happened to me. And I remember walking back to my home that I had created there in the desert and being like, I'm a healer. This is what I meant to do. Nothing else before this moment mattered. I live from a place of love, and how do I share love? And like, I do a lot of body work through my hands, and like everyone's always like, your hands are so healing. How do I do this? And it completely shifted my trajectory, because I was building a business of like creating art and doing all these things, which is beautiful, but it was all very physical and with my hands. And that was the moment I knew it had to be more about serving people and the community and really living from the space of the heart. It was profound.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That sounds very profound and quite mystical. How long ago was that?
I guess it was just before my Saturn return. So that was 2015.
Okay. So is that about how long you've been on this, would you say, on the main part of your journey?
Yeah, when I fully committed, I would say like 2012 was my big first shift, which people do talk about. Like that was a moment of awakening for a lot of people. That was when I got on the road and started traveling and really started living my life for myself and going on this like journey, but it wasn't conscious until about 2015. And then 2017 is when I dedicated to meditating every day. I started astral traveling, and then I started learning how to energy track so I could teach. Now I guide astral travel. But so it definitely happened in stages, and it's been a journey, right, ever since. So yeah, I would say 2017 is when I just fully decided that this was the path for me.
So almost 8 years? Wow. It's a lot of time to practice.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
It has been.
So I really want to talk about this astral traveling and energy tracking, but I first want to go into astrology a little bit.
Wonderful.
I know
It's my favorite.
a deep and vast and very broad subject.
It is.
So I will do my best to direct it and keep it where we're just like kind of breaking the barrier a little bit. So most people, I would say, majority of the world, look at astrology as like a hoax.
Totally.
Right?
Yes.
You got your the newspaper with your daily horoscopes. That's what people first think when they hear astrology. Mm-hmm. I have a little bit, barely, I know my signs, like at least my sun, moon, and rising,
Okay.
I have a general idea of what they mean. But like for a skeptic that views astrology as literally just a horoscope and bullshit,
Mm-hmm.
what would you say to a skeptic to like describe what astrology actually is and why it's actually important and how we can use it to better our lives or
Absolutely.
navigate.
Yeah, love this question. Beautiful. So I touched a little bit on like my journey even with astrology and reading horoscopes, and I absolutely was like, this isn't right, but why do I feel that this mode of thinking is real, right? And so I think it's beautiful to honor that that's very real for some people, that horoscopes are honestly just written as media bullshit, right? Like, who cares? They're usually not even correct. And usually not written by very good astrologers, right? Which is fine. They're there to serve a purpose. They pull people in or they turn people off, but they serve a purpose. So astrology, for me, from my point of view, is the study of the orientation of the planets and the stars, the constellations, and it's been around for eons, right? Like, we have studied the stars since before we had mathematics and writing and things. There are temples built to the exact alignment of the star Sirius, or the pyramids in Egypt are aligned perfectly with Orion's belt, right? Like, why are these things?
It's interesting because, sorry,
no, it's totally fine.
Real quick, because like they say that mathematically, like the pyramids are structured perfectly.
Yes.
But you're saying that we didn't really have math then, so you're saying that they were using
the stars,
okay,
which also incorporates mathematics at that point, just not in the way that we know it in modern times,
I guess
right?
I'm trying to.
And there's the golden ratio, right, which is the giant spiral. So there's even points within the pyramids that go within this golden spiral, the golden mean ratio, that align with the stars. And this like ancient Mesopotamia times, again, they have all of these different temples that they built new temples every time the pyramid or the star Sirius would change, because it's not a fixed star, so it moves a little bit, right? And so there's constantly new temples built so that the starlight shines in. And this is seen and understood throughout so many ancient cultures, throughout the entire world. So for my understanding, why would there be this study and this practice if it was all just woo-woo, right? And it's not about, this is what the planet is saying, so now I can write off my terrible behavior. Because that's what happens a lot with like, oh, Mercury went retrograde, or oh, blame it on the moon, right? And that's where like social media has had its fun with it, and now people can kind of say whatever they want, and it's losing some credibility, for sure. That's part of social media and media as a whole, and that's fine. But at its core, there is still so much potency. And yes, so you've said you understand your sun, your moon, and your rising, which is a great place to start beyond like just a sun sign, which is how a horoscope is written. It's just written off of your sun sign, which doesn't actually explain who you are as a person. But then there's your whole chart and all the other planets, and then the aspects that they're making to each other, which is why two Capricorns are not the same energy. They never are going to be. There's so much more that is at play in the stars that you can interpret. And a few things that I love is that astrology is just a realm of possibilities. All of it is potential realities, right? And so what you still choose into is your own free will. We live in a free will universe. And so that never dictates who and how you're going to be. It does not put you in a box at all. And that's what a lot of people believe about astrology. Yeah. They're like, oh, it means I have to be this way. No, it doesn't. There's actually so many potential realities that it is just leading you into with an invitation, right?
I love that.
Yeah, and it's like I call it a cosmic blueprint or a cosmic fingerprint, right? Because all of our fingerprints are different, and we each have one. Sure. And even if you're born on the same day, it's different, because where on the planet, latitude, longitude, like it all affects different. And then people go into like, well, what about twins? We get into that. That's not this conversation. But it is so indicative of who you could be in your highest potential, but also in your lowest shadows. And rather than like calling you out and being like, this makes you a bad person, it's just like, this is all this potential reality. Do you want to heal these things? Do you want to look at these things? It offers a mirror to deepen your understanding of self that may be harder to find in other places. And that's what it did for me in a really big way. And then you go into transit astrology and you can understand the collective and how we're all feeling as a human race because of how Earth is in the solar system and how it's being affected by all these things. So not only is it interpersonal, but it also, like, it does the macro and the micro, right? You know, like, it works for the collective experience.
Wow.
And I just think that's so profound that it's not something I could look by and be like, oh yeah, whatever. And for some, that's fine. But also, if you just give it a little bit of interest, it can open up a lot of doors.
I love how you described it as not a box, you know, because that's one thing that's put me off sometimes is like, I don't know if I do that. Like, but I've also loved the idea of a cosmic blueprint because it brought like awareness to things that I actually did do. And I'm like, okay, now I'm aware of this pattern and I can blame it on this thing. But also, like, I see the evidence of how I was raised, of how it developed into this pattern. But also this my moon is saying, like, my moon sign is saying this. Yeah. Like, that's crazy how they correlate. But now it's like, it's like a blueprint. So now I'm like, now I'm aware of this. And so I can, like, shift when that comes up, Absolutely. You know, that experience. So yeah, that's really cool. In terms of the collective, how does the moon affect the collective? Because we're majority water, like composed of water. Yep. And if we think about the moon and how it affects the sea, which is water, it's affecting it pretty heavily, a massive body of water. So how is it affecting us?
I believe it affects us in a very similar way. Then it changes the tides in the ocean. And it has this push and pull. The tides come in and come out, right? And that's why full moons can bring up a lot of energy. It kind of pulls a lot and draws things out. We just had an eclipse yesterday, right? You know, like, so really beautiful to even be having this conversation in this energy because so much gets drawn outward of us when full moons happen, but especially eclipses, they create almost like a vacuum of things that are not serving us. Especially eclipses because you don't really have to choose into it. So whether you believe in astrology or not, it's collectively happening to all of us. And I deeply believe it's because of this moon's pull on the waters of the entire earth, which include us, because we mimic the earth in her oceans, right? Like, that's how it shows up in our bodies too. And so I deeply believe that we can purge and have, like, illnesses that come up and, you know, disease in the body and things like that as well as it starts to shift, and the moon really kind of draws this energy out. And then new moons, you get to plant new seeds. Like, you get a little dark, a little quiet, right? You know, like, you come in, you really start to manifest. And again, even when people don't consciously follow a moon cycle, this is happening collectively to all of us so that we really have this opportunity to cycle. And then you can get a little deeper with it with, like, women actually have, like, this same 27, 28 day hormonal cycle that matches a moon cycle.
Fascinating.
Yeah, which is really fascinating. And then men have a 24-hour cycle like the sun.
Okay, cool? And because like the sun is masculine.
And the moon is feminine. And it's the left and the right side of the body in Ayurvedic medicine.
Makes a lot
Chinese
of sense,
medicine.
actually.
Yeah.
So with the moon, there's each, like, moon has different meanings. Like, I remember one experience we had. It was right as I met a partner of mine, and you didn't know that, but we talked about this moon experience on a certain day, and you're like, oh yeah, this moon is, like, about revisiting, like, a partnership or something along those lines of, you know. And I was like, whoa, that is like when we connected in this girl, and I was like, this is crazy, you know. So I've had a lot of experiences with the moon where it was very emotional or something happened, and then, like, 3 days later, I'm like, oh, it was a full moon. Mm-hmm. That's interesting. So I guess my question is, how do we know, like, what there's, like, almost like a theme for each full moon? So where does that come from?
Yeah, absolutely. So each moon ends up being in a sign. So we just had the full moon in Virgo, which was the lunar eclipse as well, because we're in eclipse season. And so if you pay attention to the sign, the full moons and the new moons obviously all fall into a sign. A new moon is in the same sign as the sun. That's what makes a new moon. And so that will carry on the energy. And so even with a basic understanding of astrology, you can kind of get key points. So say, for instance, this last one we had that's closest to now was the Virgo full moon. And it's all about being in the body. It's the earth priestess. So it's about really how do we remove everything that's in the way of our spiritual health. And the eclipse brings in a few different elements, but so that we can really ground into being present and being on earth in these forms, but healthy. You know, Virgo really wants to take care of our bodies and our health and bring awareness to it. So it was like spirit awareness, because Pisces is on the opposite side of the zodiac wheel from Virgo. And when we have an eclipse, it's on that axis. And so we go into like the north and the south node, which that north node is our destiny point of where we want to go, and the south node is where we've been, what we're comfortable with. And so this was a south node eclipse. So that Virgo is pulling out everything that was like stagnant and comfortable so that we could really release and be free of where we've held a lot of self-judgment, self-criticism, patterns that have been there for so long that have been right in front of us that we haven't wanted to let go of. Because sometimes letting go is harder than holding on. And that's what happens. So if you want to...
perceived as that.
Exactly. When we can just like relax and release, and that's a whole other part to the conversation. But just, you know, at this point now with social media and the internet being such a thing, you can look up just a moon chart or follow me and I talk about it, right?
So you have a platform that you do?
I do. I talk about the moon. I give my little astrology, like weather updates, essentially.
Okay. We'll share that at the end.
Yeah. And so, but it's easily, you can find out what's going on, or at least what sign it's in, and have like themes, like you said, for each moon, so you can kind of understand what potential reality lives within that energy.
Okay. That's so cool. I kind of got my model kind of expanded when you talked about the north node and south node. So like the north node is in Pisces, I guess, and the south node's in Virgo.
Correct.
So when it says, okay, I understand that, how does a full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo affect a Virgo? Is it because I'm a Virgo Libra cusp.
Okay, beautiful.
How does these full moons in a certain sign affect that sign more directly, if that's their sun sign?
So it affects any Virgo placement, and we all will have Virgo somewhere on our wheel. So it affects a certain house for everybody. Okay. Now, I have a Virgo moon. This was almost exact conjunct, the lunar eclipse was exact conjunct to my natal moon, which is super intense for me. I don't know exactly what degree you're at. Well, I guess you're a cusp. So is it at the tail end or the beginning? But it was close. So then it does affect Virgos or Virgo placements. It doesn't have to be the sun. It could be the moon or rising, or the most like active elements in your chart. Mercury's very close to the sun, so that can be very alive in our personality, depending on what else is going on in the stars at that time. So yeah, it absolutely will activate a little deeper, and especially depending on the house. So even for you, it still depends on what house it's alive. So anyone could look up that. So for me, it was in my 4th house, just because I can speak from that, which is all about home and family. It's ruled by Cancer, right? So what's going on in my home life? Is it working? Is it not working? It's all about reassessing whatever that area is, which has been extremely personal to what I'm going through right now.
Life is shifting majorly.
Exactly. So it would be something we could look up for you. Because it's on your sun, it affects your core values, who makes you, your moral compass, and then what house it's in deeply affects where in your life it's making change.
I think that could be fun to. I'm very curious, obviously.
I love that.
But I think it could be fun to like do a little mini, like, comprehension of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know how we would do that. I mean, we could use your phone, I guess.
Break it down, yeah.
But we don't have to. We could also do that on our own time.
Yeah.
I just think it could be cool to showcase, because I've listened to podcasts with an astrologist, and it just didn't really resonate. But like all of our conversations have resonated. So it's like, were these guys like? There's no judgment. But
right. And it really depends on how it comes through. And I have received from lots of friends and clients that the way I talk about astrology is very digestible. It's something that I definitely feel very passionately about, the being digestible part. Obviously, I love the planets, but that can be for me. But I want it to be understandable and relatable and applicable to your actual everyday life. That is something so important to me because it also helped my everyday life. And I think another piece, talking about the multidimensional version of me, is that I channel the planets, which is another thing that a lot of astrologers don't do. They read birth charts, they read natal charts, they read conjunction charts, like all that. Though I personally have an experience and a conversation with the planets as well.
Wow.
So on a more woo-woo side, right? You can go the scientific of where I just pull a chart and I read a chart. Yes, that's one thing. But then on the magical side of me, I also have interconversations within what, some people would call in a channeling process or a meditation process, but I channel with the planets and have conversations with them. So if I'm doing a client chart, a lot of times like Mars energy will just show up and I'm like, hold on, we got a message, right? And have this conversation, which I believe makes it much more personal to the actual client and or conversation friend experience that I'm having, rather than just being like, oh, well, this is what this book says, right? Like, this is what I learned in a class one time. It gets to be much more relatable that way. And I love it. It's one of my favorite things.
That is super cool. And I don't really know what our audience consists of yet. You know, it's very early.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like it's a half and half of like people who have never practiced or experienced the journey, and then the other half is people like in the middle of it, like us, like we're very much in it. And so this woo-woo shit is awesome to me. I've had moments in my past where I'm turned off by it because of experiences of people that identify with it more, and it's like I don't know, something about it
doesn't always resonate.
And then there's experiences like this where it's like, okay, I want to channel Uranus.
Yeah.
For real. Mark's saying this.
Bring me all the codes.
No, that's so cool. So it's obvious there's a lot of chaos happening in the world. I have my opinion on what that means. I feel like it's a good thing. I feel like there's chaos before, things have to fall apart before they come back together, right? And so on an astrological level, what's happening in your opinion or in your experience, and what's causing that? Like, is it the sun? Is it the moon? Is it all the planets? Is it the consciousness of Earth? Like, how much are we correlating with the planets, and how much are they directly affecting us? And what is your interpretation of what's happening? And you can be as controversial as you want. I think this
fantastic.
Yeah, be as honest as you want with that question.
It's a really big question, and I love it. I absolutely love it.
I also just asked, kind of. I was trying to help you.
No, I think it's great.
But that's what came through.
Perfect. I love that.
Oh, here we go. The collective on Earth is absolutely changing. And as you just spoke into, the chaos comes. It's like, like all of this collective unsettling. I love little cute analogies. So it's like we had to shake up the snow globe first, because then that's when everything starts to settle and we can actually see what's going on. But we're still in the shake and you can't see anything. What is in front of me is very confusing. And it's scary for a lot of people. It's exciting for others. It's both at the same time for a lot of us also. That's from my own experience. It's equally terrifying and thrilling at the same time.
Do you also feel like, in a weird way, just relaxed?
Peaceful? Yeah. Also, yeah.
I've been feeling strangely peaceful, and there's been a lot of shit going on
about it. Absolutely. Which is profound. And that's, I think, as we've talked about multidimensional reality, one of my favorite mottos is the both and, right? Like, it's not either or. It is both and, because all of these things exist and are all true. Your truth is your truth is yours, mine is mine, but they're all true. Doesn't make you wrong because how I believe may be different. And I think that is really beautiful in how the earth and consciousness is changing. Consciousness on earth, what it means to be human or having a human experience as a spiritual being. Because maybe not all of us agree that are watching this that we are spiritual beings, but I know the three of us sitting here believe that to be true. And we are also having a very full, multi-sensory human experience. And the planets are absolutely creating this momentum of change. And in your question, you're like, is it the sun? Is it the moon? Is it the planets? Is it Earth? Is it us? It's all of it at the same time, which is how we're actually getting to what a lot of people who've prophesized about this or channeled different messages are getting to critical mass, right? And when Earth hits, whether it's 144,000 that some people believe in, I don't necessarily personally subscribe to that, but critical mass is a number, and some people think it's that number, right? But it's right.
I have, yeah.
Side note, that is my top number. That came up again.
And I've had multiple experiences with that number in terms of, because I believe of critical mass.
Yeah.
And it's because it's the most coherent signal,
Absolutely.
right? It doesn't matter. It's not majority. It's most coherent signal, which is critical mass.
Yes.
And so I use that number as an example. It's like,
and it's perfect.
if you have 144,000 people on the planet that are consciously creating a beautiful planet, beautiful Earth of love and peace.
Yeah. Here we go. It changes. Everything changes. And just like that. And we're right there. And I feel like we're in a solar maximum. So is it the sun? Yes, it's the sun. The sun has gone through a solar maximum in this cycle faster than they ever projected, right? It was supposed to hit about 2030, give or take. And now it's 2025, right? And the amount of change that's going to happen on the sun. And so that is plasma light and information that comes through and delivers codes onto the planet. So whether it hits us in our bodies, in our DNA, or actually into the planet itself and changes that, it's affecting all of it. Again, micro, macro. And we, if we're going to talk about astrology mixed into this as well, how I view how we get born is we come in as souls through the solar rays, right? We have a sun sign and a rising solar sign that's on the horizon. So we come through with plasma knowledge when we're born, time, place, location. And that's what gives us these cosmic blueprints. So of course we're becoming more awake. Of course the sun is delivering more and more plasma light so that we can hold more light and less density because we're hitting critical mass, right? So we can actually hold more of these 5D and plus frequencies so that when the sun comes in, instead of it being this like wipe out, everybody is just like taken out by the sun and the earth has to start over, we actually get to live in a different vibration where that doesn't happen. We don't have to hit an apocalyptic time. That's not necessarily what's coming, even though that is like part of the conversation. It's going to show up in a way that's completely different than anything that we've prophesized prior to now. And that I also believe comes from the planets. And March 2025 is really like the catalyst for this great change that goes all the way through 2027. And
this month
right now that we're in. And it's started to change, but there's like this kickoff. And 2025 in itself is when all the outer planets change signs in the same year. And that hasn't happened for 3,000 years. That all these outer planets are going to shift into these new big energies. This is huge for us. At the end of the month, we have Neptune, which has been in Pisces, which is its ruling sign, where it lives, but it's delusion, it's confusion, and it's been there for 14 years.
Wow.
And so we've been in this state of like, what's real? Like the windshield is foggy. And now we're going to go into Aries, and it's like crossing this point into Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. It's spring, it's rebirth, it's opening, but it's also like energy, it's momentum, it's masculine, it's solar, it's fire, it's let's go and do the thing. And so we are on this precipice of the most incredible change. Like we have absolutely all chosen in, on whatever level you believe that to be true, to actively help hold this peak of critical mass, right? Those of us that are waking up at these different times, and now it's, since 2020, it's constant. Like more and more energy is coming off the sun that people are just like waking up one day and being like, oh my gosh, there's more to life. You know, like it's just so tangible. And Saturn just made a cazimi with the sun, which means it's a cazimi moment is when Saturn and a planet and the sun perfectly align. So it goes to the heart of the sun. And then all of the plasma rays go around the planet and kind of amplify, but also burn off anything that's like stagnant or in an illusionary state. And Saturn, on March 12th, was in this place. And Saturn's our father time. How's time felt for you lately? It's weird, right? It's either too fast or too slow or doesn't exist.
Yeah, I was telling him when we were preparing, we were doing like some vocal exercises, and I like come back into the room, and he's like, that was 10 minutes. And I was like,
excuse me?
what?
Yeah.
But like 2 minutes.
Yeah, and everything is speeding up in the collective with with the planets and the sun, and everything is on hyperdrive. And so that's the invitation with the somatic piece of being in your body, is we have to consciously choose to slow down. Because we are going to be so rapid, and we can make these quantum level jumps, which is fantastic. But we also have to discern when it's time to consciously slow our bodies down. Be in peace, meditate, talk slower, right? Hold the hug a little longer. That is going to be more and more of a conscious effort, because otherwise we're just going to get caught in the continuation and acceleration. But with all the ascension, we also need the descension. It has to be balanced. That's why we're on Earth, is to be in a state of duality, and not like where it's pulling apart, but where things are balanced. We're finding points of neutrality, but because we consciously choose them. So there's, I feel like, even so much deeper within the collective conversation of how the Earth is changing, because as I think the age of Aquarius is something really important to bring up, because people talk about it so much.
Yes.
And going into this utopian age of Aquarius, which on some levels, on some potential realities of astrology, yes, absolutely. Aquarian is the sign of the humanitarian. It is community. It is living together. It's coming back together in some ancient future timelines, is what I like to refer to it. But also, it's the high rise of AI. It's artificial intelligence. It's being like kind of dissociated from life. We now get to choose what it means to be human in the age of Aquarius. So there will be a peak of all of these outer human, cross-species, part robot energies, and people choosing into this because that's what they want to do. And again, free will, go for it. But then there's also going to be communities coming together to actually gather around a fire and heal each other and meditate together. And like, not to say one is necessarily better than the other. I obviously have my own preference, but that is part of this. And now that Pluto is also in Aquarius for the next 20 years, at the start of 2025, we're in this huge activation of the Aquarian energy. And Pluto comes in like a wrecking ball and will just blast through everything that isn't serving that higher energy. So in this case, it's Aquarius, right? And it was in Capricorn since 2008. And we watched that decimate our structures of housing, money, finance, all the things that were like solid Saturnian boxes. And it all got blasted out. It had to go to make room for this quantum level expansion. And so you can have whatever opinion you want on that, but it is such a profound time, again, to have discernment and make that active choice for yourself based on your higher spirituality. And that's what Aquarian calls in. It is the unique, individualistic, like I am me, authentic expression. And that, I think, is like a keynote I would love to share, is like, how can you be the most authentically you? That's what Aquarian asks for. That's what Pluto is going to continue to dissolve and like bring through a death portal. It's death and rebirth. So what parts of you aren't actually you?
That's wild. I'm just going to take a breath for a second.
Yeah.
While you think of your question, it's just interesting to see how like me feeling into this new year, it was like the year of expression for me. Like full
Yes.
full on authentic. And the last few days, it's like the theme that's been coming up is taking up space, which I love that term. And it doesn't mean like I'm man-spreading. It means showing up authentically and
100%.
unapologetically. You know, I feel like I truly believe that we're here to trigger or inspire, and they're both opportunities to shift.
Absolutely. And it's a fine line. Because triggering does inspire also, right? It doesn't have a negative connotation unless you put one on it, right? Like, and I do that a lot with people also. So like I see you and really celebrate that, because there is some people, that's the desired outcome, right? Like trigger into inspiration, right? And I think that's profound.
Yeah, I've noticed today I had like something trigger me in a negative connotation, and then I noticed my energy shift, and I was like, damn it, I let that affect me. And then I was like, no, I literally was like practicing with thought, with affirmations, thinking, conscious thinking of, no, this is inspiring. This person is showing what's possible for me, you know? And so it's
great
awesome.
rewrite,
It can't, everything is, we're always capable of rewriting.
Okay, I got a question.
I'm so ready.
So this is definitely a time that we're moving from 3D to 5D, where we're living more in our hearts, right? That's what 5D is to me. I want to ask you, like, how do you, for people that are watching, how do you tune into your heart? How do you focus in on your heart? What do you think of like 5D? What does that mean to you? Because I think a lot of people think of 5D and they don't understand. It sounds very woo-woo. Yep. But to me, 5D is tuning into more of our higher chakras. And I'm curious, like, what you think about that and what 5D means to you, and how do you tune into your heart more? And
I love that. When I think of explaining dimensions, and I do this often even in astral travel and like as I, teach and guide through that. So if you're kind of coming into the idea of dimensions and realities, you can picture it like a ladder. And in the odd numbers, so 3, 5, 7, those are the physical dimensional frequencies that we can actually start to climb, ascend, right? And then the ones in between, the even numbers, are in spirit form. They're not physical form. So we still go through them. So there's still a fourth dimension and all of this. We just don't, we don't talk about manifesting it in physical life, because that's just not how the dimensional frequencies align, right? They have to balance. So physical, spirit. And so getting into a 5-dimensional reality for me is where we do access more of our gifts, our intuitive nature, our heart power, our brain-heart coherence, these other levels of being to create and co-create with the world around us. In 3-dimensional reality, as I understand it, the couch is a couch, right? It's made up of molecules. So in theory, I should be able to put my hand through it if I want to, right? Like that's miracles when we talk about like Jesus and all of that, right? And walking on water. And yet we believe it to be solid. We believe it to be true. And we've had no experience to show us other than stories that are written in some kind of mythos or sacred texts, right? And that's been so removed from our modern times that it's hard for us to wrap our mind around. So we stay dense, which is 3D, right? It's dimensional reality that has density to it. And as we start to raise through dimensions, the density gets lighter and lighter. We can hold more light. So in my practice, I send my energy up to 12D consciousness, 13D consciousness. I actually go all the way up to 39 if we want to go there. That's a different conversation. Yes. But 39 is more of a God self frequency, right? When there is no density. And so being in a 5-dimensional reality is where we can then have a critical mass of people that actually are living in coherence with the heart space, to where we can be playing with our intuition. We can be playing with these things that some people would call superpowers, right? Whether that's modes of telepathy. And ancient, like Aboriginal tribes still talk in their minds and have this sense of telepathy. But personally, I truly believe, this is my little anecdote in there, I don't believe that can fully take form within like our modern times if we have a lot of secrets. Because I've noticed that I can play in those realms with my really close friends, that we don't hide from each other. So the more authentic we are, like we were just talking about, the more real and transparent we are with ourselves and then with other people, the more available telepathy and having these conversations are, because we don't have all these barriers. We don't have all these protections and like spaces to hold in between where you're like, oh no, I can't be seen like that, right? Because then that's obviously not, you can't let somebody in your head if you can't be seen, if you can't even see yourself. So there's different aspects of this 5D that I think is not like we ascend outside of our body and like reality won't be a reality. It's about bringing that then down to physical form where we can actually have more experience with each other, turn on more of our brains, right? And really access these deeper parts. I also think within our heart of like having these more heartfelt conversations that don't have to always have tangible words, right, that we're creating. And then I think that is beautifully into what I do to activate my heart and be with that. Things, one that I'm passionate about, meditation and breath work are huge for me, but also I have a strong cacao practice, and cacao is a medicinal drinking chocolate that is for the heart, and it opens up the capillaries and the blood vessels, and it passes the blood-brain barrier and releases a molecule in your body called anandamide, and it's like the bliss molecule. So it like turns on the heart. Right, exactly. We're gonna get blissed out. Let's drink some cacao.
No, that's amazing.
And I now drink cacao every day. Like I stopped drinking coffee years ago now, but like that was a huge part of how I evolved that out and I don't have to drink caffeine and stimulants anymore. And really have a meditative practice that opens my heart every day, and then I can go out into the world with now this like sacred intentional space I've created within my own heart. And obviously you can do that with other things. Roses, huge. Rose medicine, I love that we both rose shirts. Hey.
Yeah, that's what's up.
But rose, the smell, and the frequency that comes off of a rose, so whether you're looking at one, it's printed, you're smelling it, your oils, whatever, ingesting it, it has the highest frequency on earth closest to love. And so if we want to just raise our vibration and tap more into the heart, smell a rose, get some rose oil, right? Like it's that easy.
Yeah.
And it's something that I consider myself like a priestess of the rose, because I think it's such a profound way to have a very simple practice that connects me deeper into my heart, and then I can hold space for others and have these deeper conversations.
Yeah.
And that's just, I mean, I feel like there's so many ways I open my heart, but those are a few ways that are just like daily practices for me that I intimately love. And then just like holding space. I really just want to be like listening from my heart. And that's a personal expression of just, I sit with my chest open. I pull my shoulders back. I do a lot of, right. And it was called posture for a while, but and like it's still, most people would just call this correcting your posture and pulling your shoulders, like don't hunch, but hunching comes from protecting your heart.
Yeah.
That's real, right? Like, and so opening, keeping the space open, or like holding it, say you want to like close and hold and give yourself a hug, like that's beautiful. But if you're having a moment where this, something's intense for you, maybe just try putting your hands on your heart rather than closing off. Seeing if you can still have an open heart, but also feel safe. Play with that. Like see where it's a great practice to like still be involved and engaged with someone without completely shutting them out, because energetically they're still going to feel that, whether it's a partner, a friend, business colleague, just having a moment with yourself, like, okay, how can I adjust my body to be a little bit more open? Where do I feel safe? Okay, maybe I still want a little barrier, but I can stay lifted, right? And just seeing how it feels. The back of the heart is big too, right? And then there's lots of practices and heart de-armorings that I've actually committed a lot of my, like in my somatic therapy, I do heart de-armorings. And it's something that I found for myself, because we all put barriers and walls and protections around our hearts. And so removing those layers is a somatic practice that you can receive. And that really helps you tune into your own heart space and then go from there with your own practices. So it's nice to also sometimes be held in that experience as well.
Yeah. Wow.
I'm going through a few recent injuries, and I'm like, as frustrating as they are, I know that they're showing me something.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had an injury in the fall where I had a bodywork massage done, and actually it caused nerve damage behind my right shoulder blade, right next to my heart. And if I slouch now, and so it happened because this person did a move where they pulled my scapula up, but because I hunched my whole life, protecting my heart, I'm a lover, right?
Yeah.
I protected that my whole life. So my muscles, my intrinsic muscles were all so stretched. And so when he pulled that move, it was like cutting a small thread. And so now, but I'm so grateful because it's forced me to do exercises that are strengthening my posture. And in the car, everywhere I'm going with meditation, I have to have good posture, or I have to like be fully like,
Okay.
because I'm still healing.
Yeah,
so
of
I can't
course.
fully sit in good posture right now in meditation.
But it's nice that you know. And
Right.
you can listen to your body.
And so I just wanted to share that because
Thank you.
I know it was for a reason. And since then, I feel like I've been more expressive of love. I see the physical shift. So I wanted to amplify. And I do have a question about this after Mark's next question about the kind of that.
You should ask it.
Well, it's a broad one. Just because I'm so fascinated with 5D and 3D, right?
You should ask it.
Okay,
I will
sure.
remember my question. It's not like a huge thing. So.
Okay. Well, the fact that like things are happening energetically with the moon, with all these things, but it's also happening physically within the body on a physiological level.
100%.
And that is what the people need to know, in my opinion, to let go of woo-woo. Because there's actually, whether we can comprehend at this moment, there's a physiological explanation of what's happening. And we might not have the science to understand it all. I don't know if we have the science to understand astral projecting
Right.
in this moment. But there is a scientific, physiological explanation of what's happening. We just don't know it yet. But there are things that we do know, which is emotions, like, and the chemical reactions in the body, or just the chemicals in themselves. So like, I don't know. I don't necessarily know if I have a question there. I just wanted to bring that up because seeing that example of my heart space and my injury was like, up here the universe is like, okay, this guy needs to open his heart because the universe, or my higher self, whatever you want to call it, knows the impact that it can have on the world and the people around me. But on a physiological level, it's like I have to get injured by a close friend who feels terrible about what happened. They're in their process, which is perfectly orchestrated from God. I'm having my process, which is perfectly orchestrated to help me onto my next step in my journey. And I just think that is so beautiful and so fascinating. And that's why these clouded experiences that we're experiencing as a collective right now, that's why I feel at peace. Because I've seen so many in my personal life of these clouded moments, and like then when the fog clears, I look back and I'm like, that's why.
What that was for. Yeah.
And so I wanted to share that.
Thank you. Thank you for picking up the thread, because it was really beautiful to watch you evolve into just sharing this piece of truth. And it is. And that's the beauty I find that I relate to the somatic experience of living, right? And because it is a both and, it's coming into the body, and the body absolutely is telling us messages all the time. We've just been so conditioned to ignore it, or throw over-the-counter medication on it, or stretch, or lay down, or whatever, take a bath, but don't actually like process what's coming up. And your story is so beautiful with actually listening to the deeper, you could say, spiritual message or just body message, gifted opportunity to you, so that you can incorporate more than just, oh, well, I'm hurt. This person hurt me. Because often that is kind of what happens. And especially when it comes into like the medical field or body work or things like that, you just like, oh, assume that maybe they didn't know how your body worked or whatever. Though I think it's really beautiful to shed some light on a story like yours, on the fact that it can also be something that is for your highest good, even when it shows up as something that's uncomfortable. And that is absolutely happening for the collective. And even in this moment, like I said, with just this last moon and the eclipse, like people are getting physically ill. And I think a lot of collective illness goes around when we are shedding parts of us that are like, so say you have a cough, right? Coughing, sneezing, they're really deep energetic clearings. So if you have a lot of self-hatred or judgment or, like ill will, talking, like whatever this negative energetic is in the body, we have to like move it. And when people don't consciously want to sit down and like meditate or journal it out or go for a run, they're going to get sick. You got to cough it out then. It's got to show up as phlegm. It needs to be moved. And I know even from my own personal experience right now, I'm experiencing some nerve pain from my sacrum, which is your sacral chakra, right? Like even though science calls it one thing, we have an energetic spiritual side that calls it another similar. And this creative change, and it's going all the way down my right foot, so masculine side of your body ruled by the sun. And it's almost like I had a really beautiful breakthrough about it that relates with this just a couple days ago. And I went and I was like, it's safe to be in my body, it's safe to be in my body, it's safe to be here. And I immediately had this meditative aha moment where it all shifted. I'm like, no, my body wants to feel safe with my spirit, not the other way around. And I was like, that is like a subtle but 180 that I needed, because I was like, it feels like my body was running away from me. And I had to do some work to sit with it and like pull it in and honor these different parts of me that are going through some massive change, because I am about to take a huge step into my future. And so again, masculine foot, it's leading me. So of course there's some pain there. Wow. Of course there's discomfort, right? Like I'm about to go into one of the biggest stretches of my entire life, and my body is being like, okay, are we ready? I'm ready, let's go, So it's a really beautiful experience when we start to just mix it all together, especially with what's coming with the world. And I hope that everybody listening to this can really feel that with the amount of potential chaos that will hit the collective. It's all for the betterment of what we're doing. We have to get uncomfortable or we won't change.
Yes. Very true. This is like, the information like blew my mind. Yeah. Like we've talked.
Yeah.
And but you're just like, you have endless amount of downloads, and it's just awesome to hear it all. So people that are watching that don't know how to feel their heart, or they've never felt like joy or sadness. Like literally I was on my first like coaching call, and this guy from India, and I was telling Zach this, I think that he hasn't felt I don't think he's ever felt his heart. And he was asking me, how do you feel elevated emotions? And I think a lot of the world now is stuck, and I think there's a lot of people learning how to open their heart, but I think there's a lot of us here that do have our hearts open now that need to start telling people, how do you tune in your heart to your heart? How do you feel something that's been closed off for so long, and you think your heart's open, but sometimes you really don't know if it is. And that butterfly feeling that you get, not everyone experiences that. True. So coming from your experiences in your life and what you do, how would you tell people to start accessing their heart? I think you mentioned the rose.
And the cacao.
Yeah, rose and cacao are great places to start that you can do on a solo experience, right? You don't need anybody outside of yourself to do this thing. And on a physical level, because I think within my practice and my client work, like within my therapy, I notice that when people are having that experience of not really feeling their heart, that starting with very simple actual sensation first, that's more 3D, right? If we're going to refer to it as that, is a great place to start. So like actually putting your hands on your heart, feeling your heartbeat, tapping on the heart to like open the heart center, front and back. Because a lot of times we hold a lot of tension around the back heart, and that's usually when people are like, oh, I have shoulder pain all the time. It's the back of your heart. And most often, obviously, yes, you can have shoulder pain, but usually all those muscles constrict to keep the sensitivity, right? It's just kind of what we were just talking about. And so to just bring energy there, and then you can massage with rose oil would be great to open the heart, have the sensation of it. And then again, putting your hands on the heart. And then cacao, it's hard for me to have I've never had a conversation, to be honest, in my own practice. I'm sure this has happened, but I've never personally asked anybody who's drank it after holding it to their heart, be with it while it's warm before. You don't even have to drink it yet. You really just sit with it with a warm cup in your hands, which are an extension of your heart energy, and you put it like in the middle or right over your heart, wherever it feels good. I usually just put it center, heart chakra energy, and it will your heart will start beating faster. It already is like the cacao is pulling your heart energy into the cup. And so like the vibration and just feeling your physical blood moving through your physical body is a great place to even start be like, oh, that's where my heart is. Because a lot of people don't even like go for a run, even for a couple minutes, get a cardio moment in. And then instead of just transitioning into something, especially for people who just go to the gym, right? Like stop, put your hands on your heart, feel the beating, feel then where the blood is moving. Is it in your temples? Can you feel it then in other areas, right? Because that's your heart sending it everywhere else. So before you even get into the more energetic or metaphysical or spiritual area of feeling bliss and joy, feel your physical heart in your body. And then from there are different heart coherence meditations where you can like have the guidance to feel your heart. And when you've gone through a lot of hard, traumatic energetics or places where you've been really, really hurt, then sometimes it is being held by someone else is sometimes what is really necessary to open that path, which is what I offer with my heart de-arm rings. And there are other ways to do that, but it's about being held sometimes to even feel safe enough to feel your own heart. And I've noticed that is a big bridge for some people, that some people can get themselves there. Some people can get themselves there, but it's going to take a certain amount of linear time. And then others can be held and witnessed and just like crumble and feel and purge things that are there. Like I've had so many clients that are like, oh, I didn't even know that was there. Like now I'm having like regressed memories that I've just suppressed down, and they're coming up because like you start to move the actual physical tissue, and that wakes up the energetics and spiritual side of things as well. So it's a great place to just get curious, I would say. The curiosity is huge. Starting with the physical and the simple. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to meditate for the next hour, and all of a sudden I'm going to feel my heart, right? You know what? Eventually, yes, that's profound and really beautiful experience. But most people don't start there. I sure didn't. It was really about the physicality piece first. And then how to do something passionate that brings you joy. So I dance, I move, and then again, it's cardio at the same time, which is great, especially if you drink cacao and then dance. Now we're really getting into it. But whether it's painting, walking, going to sit by a river, you know, finding that thing that could bring you joy, and then having the practice of being like, okay, how does my heart feel? And it's about the curiosity and the turning inward and consciously asking the question that I think can draw that energy up and forward in a way that maybe has never been felt before.
Love that. That was perfect. That was awesome. So much there. So for people that are watching, how would they contact you for a session? Do you got like a Facebook, Instagram?
Yep. On all social media, Kelsey Isis, I-S-I-S like the goddess, is how you will find me on everything. Redhead, I'm everywhere. And that's a really easy way to just search it, even Google, really. Even it'll pull up all of my web addresses and everything on there as well, to do one-on-ones, or just follow my Instagram for different places to get the astrology downloads and updates and things like that, because that's also just a really fun way to connect with the community and, again, the cosmos and all that magical energy.
And we'll put a link in the bio that we have with all that information. So
yeah, I would absolutely love that. This has been so wonderful. I really enjoy this conversation.
The world needs to hear this.
Right, there will be so much more. The world does need to hear it.
This
is just the beginning of like
this is incredible.
a lot. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Yeah, this is amazing. We've got so much more. We could talk for hours. I know.
We'll have you on again. We'll have you on again.
Please.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's it. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We're sending all the love out. Keep that heart open. Remember to breathe, drink your water, move your body, and stay blissed.
Stay blissed, baby.
Stay blissed.
Nice.